This is the site of the elementary school that Lee and I attended as kids. This neighborhood has a lot of bad memories. God, I hate this place. I don't even know why I'm coming back. I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm terrified right now. Hey everyone, it's Uncle Jay, and we're doing something different today. I'm not gonna play video games today. I'm kind of taking a drive around town. I'm gonna turn off my car. I am driving around the places that Lee and I grew up. So if you're familiar with Uncle Jay and Leland and that channel, Oh Shiitake Mushrooms, this is the tour. This is going to be the tour of our childhood. We grew up in a lot of houses in the Salt Lake area. So we're gonna drive by a bunch of houses, neighborhoods that we grew up in as we were kids. The first stop is in a city called Midvale, which is a suburb of Salt Lake City. That's where we lived in when we first lived in America. So this is going to be the first one. Okay, the first part of our tour is in this. This is the house that Lee and I lived in when we first moved to America. And the neighborhood's definitely run down a little bit. But this was the duplex. We lived on the right side of the house. It's a duplex. We lived there when we first lived here in America, we lived here for about a year. All right, well, that's the first house we lived in. Now we're gonna go to Sandy. Sandy is a city close to here. It's a suburb of Salt Lake City. That's where Lee and I eventually moved to. And we lived in a couple of houses there. So we're gonna go by and I'm gonna show you the houses that we grew up in Sandy. The next neighborhood I lived in, the second house right here. This is the second house in America I lived in, right there. You can see it right there. It is. This is the neighborhood I lived in when I was about 7 years old. 6 or 7 years old when I first moved to America. There's a park across the street here, Flatiron Mesa. It's a really cool park. There's a lot more trees there now, but when I was a kid it was all grass, and it's built on top of a hill. But the house I lived in was right here. Lived here from 1989 to 1990. Lee was about 8 years old, 9 years old, and I was about 7 years old. And I'm kind of scared. I'm some random person on the side of the road filming a house. But yeah, this is a house I lived in for a little while. This is pretty emotional. I actually really liked this neighborhood. I had some good memories. There was a girl that lived here that was really cool, very friendly. And then we had a friend that lived here. Her name was Ashley, I think. And then there was just a bunch of really cool people that lived in this neighborhood. Very nice. Lee and I lived in the window on the left. That was our bedroom. And the house looks a lot different now. It used to be very Spanish themed. Like it used to have stucco with an archway, like 3 arches. The door is still the same. The fences are different, of course. A really big backyard. Had a bunch of trees back there. It's different now. But this is where we lived. And this was a very fun neighborhood. And I loved it here. I would actually live here again. This was a really cool neighborhood. And we're very close to the mountains too. And yeah, I remember Lee and I were just little kids. We were riding our bikes on this circle here. That's what I remember what we did. Okay, that was fun seeing my second house I lived in America. Let's go to the third house. Yes, my parents moved a lot. They kept renting houses and they couldn't own a house until, several years later. And so we lived in a bunch of rentals, and that was the second rental that we lived in. And yeah, I love this place here, this park. This is such a cool park. It's on a hill. So we're gonna head to the next neighborhood, which is only a mile away. It's the next neighborhood that Lee and I grew up in, and this one definitely has some history. So I'm gonna be talking about that if you guys care. So we'll be there in a second. Okay, we're on our way to the next neighborhood. I love this part. This part of Sandy is really pretty here. This is Falcon Park. We spent a lot of time here as kids. Yeah, there it is, yeah. So this next neighborhood here has a lot of history, and I'm gonna drive by it, film the house, hopefully don't creep some people out. Who's this weirdo parked in front of my house? And yeah, so it should be right around. Yeah, I can't see anything. Is that it? Nope, that's not it. I'm just filming around here. This is really weird. It's like 100 degrees today. It's really hot today. Okay, this might be it right here. Here it is. Yeah, this street here. Good neighborhood. This is where Lee and I lived as kids. The house is on the right. It's that house of the Utah Utes chair. Hey, the Utes fans that live there now. Nice. This house right here. Lee and I lived here. Okay, let me film myself. I'm gonna park in front of it. All right, well, this neighborhood has a lot of history, all right? Like I said, this is where Lee and I lived. We lived here from 1990 to 92, a long time ago. The house is right there. It looks so different now. Like it's so crazy. Like it looks so different. So this is the street we lived on. We had our best friend lived right here. His name was Adam, really cool kid. He lived right here. They didn't have a garage back then. I guess they have a garage now. They don't live here anymore, but this was our best friend. And then we lived in that house right there. 8 years old, 9 years old when I lived here. Sorry, I can't make up my mind. But we lived here. We had, Adam, he lived next door here. We hung out a bunch. So I actually really like this neighborhood. A lot of history. Lived here for about 2 years. This is when I mentioned my friend Adam that lived next door to us. He had a bunch of cool hobbies. He would literally film movies and stuff. And you could pinpoint that could have been the moment when Lee and I started to make videos, which eventually led to Oh Shiitake Mushrooms. So in a way, this street could be considered the birthplace of Oh Shiitake Mushrooms. I don't know, because before, Lee and I weren't really into anything, but then we met our friend who lived here, and we started filming movies, and we started recording our voices and filming ourselves being stupid. So here's a better view of the house that we lived in from 1990 to 1992. Currently, yeah, it's been remodeled. It used to be white, and we lived in that house. Lee and I lived together in the basement, so we lived somewhere underneath there. And this is the house where we started filming movies and making videos. So this is where it all began. And then our best friend Adam lived right there. Okay, now that I showed you the second neighborhood that I lived in, and third neighborhood that I lived in, we're gonna go to what I consider the, how am I gonna put this? The heart of my destroyer. The next neighborhood that we're going to is on the other side of the valley in South Jordan. It's about 15 minutes away. This neighborhood has a lot of bad memories, dealt with a lot of bullying. Lee and I were picked on. I'm not going to get into details about it, but a lot of bad memories. And we lived in this next neighborhood for about 5 years. So let's take a drive, the next one. Okay, this place pretty much kind of looks the same. Oh, I know what I need to go first. I know exactly where I need to go. We're going to my elementary school. It's just right here behind this hospital. You can see the whole valley from here. This is really cool. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to my elementary school, Edgemont, and we're going to give you a tour of that as well. All right, we're heading to my elementary school that Lee and I attended as kids. What the crap? What is this? It's not even here anymore. Yes, it's not here anymore. Edgemont Elementary that Lee and I attended does not exist anymore. This is the site of the elementary school that Lee and I attended as kids. They were the home of the Eagles. It was a really cool school. Yeah, I rhymed there. Cool school. It was a positive experience. I really did like school here. I really did. I'm very bummed that the school doesn't exist anymore. They tore it down. It was built in the 50s, all right? It was a really old school. Even back in the day when Lee and I attended this school, it was really old. From about 1989 to about 1994. So a long time ago. But it was still kind of cool just to show you the area that I went to school. Hello, darkness, my old friend. This is kind of more, at the time when we lived here in the early 90s, it was all farmland. This is all developed now. There's a bunch of houses and apartments here. And this road wasn't here when I lived here years ago. But it is now, so I'm taking a shortcut. Oh, I hate this place. I don't even know why I'm coming back. Okay, this is the Jordan River. This is the river that runs through Salt Lake Valley. Okay, I'm kind of going too fast here. I gotta slow down. And we're almost there. I'm kind of a little nervous. A lot of bad, bittersweet memories, I guess you can say. That's a cool house. I like that house. Whoever lives there, I applaud your design. And we're almost there. We're heading up. And, oh, there's actually a light here now. Okay. Okay, we're almost there. Okay, we're old stomping grounds. This is South Jordan. And this house here, a guy named Daniel lived here. Obviously had really rich parents. Holy crap, that's a big house. It's way bigger than I remember. That's where we had a tree house. We had a tree house right by the Jordan River. We had a big tree house. Me and my friends, frenemies really. Another kid down there named Taylor lived there. All right, here we are. I am nervous. Yes, freaking road. This is the road that Lee and I lived in from 1992 to 1998. And this is the street that we lived on. It looks a lot different now. I mean, it totally looks it looks completely different now. And we're gonna turn here because we had a best friend that lived here. His name was Ben. And he had like 300 kids or siblings. They lived right here. I'm just driving around filming. That's where Ben lived. Lee and I, this is Ben's house. He was a friend of ours. Pretty much spent a ton of time with him, and it didn't work out. Our friendship didn't work out. He was kind of a jerk. Sorry, I know he was just a punk teenager, but he was kind of cocky, and there was a girl here that we didn't like. Yeah, you're gonna hear that a lot. There's a lot of people here that we did not like. These people were jerks. Sorry, I'm trying to be positive. There's a lot of good people here. Robs were cool, Here's the house right here. I'm kind of scared to park here and film. Here is the house that we lived in. And this is the house that Lee and I lived in when we were teenagers in the early 90s, early to late 90s. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm terrified right now. This neighborhood gives me the chills. I've had a lot of bad experiences in this neighborhood, Lee included. So there's the house that Lee and I lived in. We lived in there we were teenagers. This was 92 to 98. And we were teenagers. I was about 10 years old, probably 9 years old to about age 15 when I lived in this neighborhood. And then I attended junior high here and my first year of high school at Bingham. There used to be a giant willow tree here. That pine tree is still there, but the willow tree is gone. It was right there. It was the coolest thing. It was a huge willow tree. And they took it down. But this neighborhood, bless its heart, has a lot of bad memories. I'm sorry. I don't know if I want to spend a lot of time here. But just a lot of memories. A lot of good but bad memories. But we had a lot of bullying going on. Like I pointed at some of the houses. There was a few bullies on this street. And they vandalized our house a few times. But it still kind of looks the same. I'm not going to spend much time here because I don't really have as good memories here as I did in the last 3 neighborhoods that I showed you. Quite frankly, if this place burned to the ground, I'd probably be happy. Sorry, sharing my opinion. A lot of bad experiences here, a lot of bad luck. I've had bad experiences visiting. That's why I'm so scared to come back here because Lee and I, we've come back here a couple of times since we moved. A couple of years after we moved from here. And we had our cars break down. We've gotten stranded. I've had some bad experiences myself personally coming back here. So I'm worried that my car is going to break down or someone's going to run into the side of my car when they pass. Or someone's going to come after me with a gun. I'm seriously terrified right now. Lee and I lived in the basement, but for a big chunk, I was upstairs in the left window. And the willow tree used to be here. These people used to watch TV all the time, I remember. They always had the TV on in the window in the backyard. And they actually planted trees in the front now, so it looks good. But the pine tree is still there, surprisingly. So here's the house that I've had a lot of bittersweet memories as a teenager. And we move on to the next neighborhood. Yay. So I'm just going to take a picture of the house, and I'm just going to drive on. We're going to drive on to the next neighborhood, and it's in West Jordan. And I think we have only 3 houses left. Yes, I've lived in a lot of houses growing up. So let's just get the hell out of Dodge and move on. Oh god, like it seriously felt like I just got on the last helicopter out of Vietnam. Like I'm seriously nothing bad happened there. Holy crap. King Benjamin's quote. Yeah, we know we're in Utah now with names like that. Okay, so we're heading out of the neighborhood that Lee and I grew up in. One of the many. The emotional, bittersweet roller coaster. We're heading to West Jordan now. The next neighborhood that we lived in, and we lived there for a couple of years. So I'm just on the way there right now. Okay, now we're entering West Jordan, and this is the neighbor. I'm gonna show you 2 houses that we lived in. We lived in 2 houses in the same neighborhood. In this neighborhood right here. Drive. Yes, there's the church that we attended. Okay, this is the next street that we lived on. We lived in this house here. I'm trying to be careful because there's a lady out there, so it would have been kind of awkward. Hey, there's a guy filming my house for no reason, sitting on the side of the road. But that house we lived in when I attended high school. I lived here from 1998 to about 2000. And this was kind of a rough neighborhood too. These people were very friendly to us. Pretty much a lot of people here were very friendly to us. The first girl that I ever went on a date with lived in this house here. Lived in that house. Her name was Allison. Really nice. Yeah, this guy wasn't friendly either. Everyone here was kind of mean too. We had a couple of rough neighborhoods, man. This guy ran after my mom once because his dogs barked all night long, and he like came to my house and just like, how dare you tell me to shut my dogs up? So this guy was nuts. I'm sorry. I'm a positive guy, but this neighborhood and the previous neighborhood had some really mean neighbors, all right? This is the house that Lee and I lived in. So it was kind of rough, you know. Yeah, we lived here for a couple of years, and then we moved to a house down the street here. So let's go to that house next. Okay, so we're leaving this street here. A lot of good memory. Hi, school bus. A lot of good memories at this church here. Lee and I attended this church for a while, had a lot of good friends here. We made a lot of friends in this neighborhood. The grown-ups were kind of mean, but the kids here were actually nice. The last neighborhood I mentioned that I was scared of, the kids were mean, but the kids in this neighborhood were really cool. Made a lot of friends. I had a kid named Daniel that I was good friends with that lived down here. My parents, like I said, they rented a few times, and this was a house that my parents eventually owned, and we moved just down the street. So let me pull off to the side of the road here so I'm not a nuisance. And this is the next house we lived in. This is a house I lived in when I was a senior in high school. And when I graduated from high school, this is the house I lived in. This was a cool house. I liked it. It had a really big front yard. And this was also the house I lived in when 9/11 happened. So I remember on the upper window, that was the upper left window right there is where I lived, right there. That was my bedroom. So yeah, that's one of the memories I have in this house is I lived here when 9/11 happened, when the terrorist attacks happened. I was about 18, 19 years old when that happened. So I lived in this house when I was a senior in high school. We lived here from about 2000 to 2002. And there is one more house. Can you believe it? One more house. After all these houses that Lee and I grew up in, there is only one more house that we lived in before my parents moved to the current house that they live in, that you probably see in other Oh Shiitake Mushroom videos. The next house that I'm going to show you is the final house. I consider the final house of our tour. Yeah, let's go there right now. It's only about 10 minutes away. All right, well, we're heading to the last stop of our tour, of my childhood tour. We're still in West Jordan. We're in West Jordan now, so complete other side of the valley were when we started the tour. And this was the road I used to go 5 times a day to go to the grocery store, pretty much. And this place looks pretty much the same. Still a lot more traffic now. This place has grown so much. Okay, we're on 90th South, a very major, busy road. You can see the mountains there. The first houses that I showed you in the tour are pretty much right in front of that mountain there. So you can just see how far away we've gone, how far we've gone. Okay, no, I don't need to get over. Okay, there used to be no freeway here. Holy crap. Now, there's a freeway here now. Okay, whatever. There's a freeway there now. Spent a lot of time here. I'm going to drive past my first job. So the first job that Uncle Jay ever had. I'll probably, yeah. And it's right next to the next house that we're going to. So, perfect. Let's just go there next. And let's do it. Alright, this road is always busy. It was busy back in the early 2000s, and it's still pretty busy now. So this was where I had my first job. My first job right there, Ream's Grocery Stores. It's still there. Surprise. It's not like my elementary school where it decided to disappear. This place still exists. So let's check it out, everyone. My first job. Ream's. Holy crap, they remodeled the outside of the place. Okay, I gotta park here. Park normally. Alright, this is where I first worked. This is Uncle Jay's first job. Really good. If you live in Utah, this is where you go to get your groceries because they're cheap. And they recently remodeled this place. It used to look very 70s. This was built in like the early mid 70s, so it had a really old 70s vibe. But they definitely remodeled it. It looks very nice now. Anyway, this is where I worked for like 2 years. When I lived in that house that I showed you, the previous house I showed you, I worked here. And this is about 10 minutes away from where we were. So this is where I worked. I was a bagger at a grocery store. I bagged people's groceries. People were just like, "Don't smash my bread." I had one lady that got mad at me because she thought I butt in line. Yeah, I've told that story a few times in my other YouTube channels. You probably heard it a million times by now. Funny story. Don't know if I want to share it again. But yeah, I was a bagger at a grocery store here, bagged people's groceries, took out the shopping carts. People leave their carts out in the parking lot. I would grab them. And I actually really liked this job. This was a fun job. My boss was actually nice. This is one of the few jobs I've had when people were actually had a good experience. This is seriously the most nostalgia day ever. I visited my childhood from age 7 to about age 20. I mean, that's a big chunk of your life. Like, seriously, man. And yeah, this was my first job. We were leaving my first job and we're going to the final house of the tour. But after I got home I lived in Arizona for a couple of years for my mission. And then I moved back and my family lived here in this neighborhood up here. And this is the final house that we lived in before my parents moved to Riverton, the current house that they live in now. I don't really need to go there because I didn't live there very long. And so let's go. Okay, final stop of the tour. But this is the house that I lived in right after I moved back from Arizona. Okay, that guy needs to get his car fixed. This house here, this house right here. This is the house I lived in 2004, 2005. So not much to see, not much memories here. Not a lot of memories in this neighborhood, really. All right, well, heading out of the last neighborhood. Okay, we're done. That's it. I just visited almost every house that I've ever lived in growing up, and of course, not counting the 2 houses I lived in England. You just saw all the houses that Lee and I grew up in. So yay, we did it. And then it took about a few hours, and it was fun. It was worth it. You guys just witnessed Uncle Jay's childhood. And it's been years since I visited all these houses, but it was a lot of fun. Anyway, I'm going to start heading back home. I live about 30 minutes from here. So, yeah, I deal with traffic and all that fun stuff. See ya.